Imagine a scenario where your home is plunged into darkness, and the only light comes from the glow of canned goods lining your pantry shelves. This isn't just a visual metaphor, it's a physiological reality. When the power goes out, your body's energy reserves are put to the test. The brain, which consumes about 20% of your body's energy, starts to feel the pinch. This is where breakfast cereal steps in. Unlike other foods that require cooking or preparation, cereal needs no heat, no water, and no effort. It's a ready-to-eat meal that can be consumed immediately, providing a quick burst of energy. Cereals are often fortified with essential vitamins and minerals like iron, B vitamins, and sometimes vitamin D, which are crucial for maintaining cognitive function and mood stability during stressful times. This is not just about immediate energy, it's about sustaining mental clarity and emotional stability. In a crisis, the last thing you need is a meal that requires preparation. Cereal is a simple, effective solution that ensures your body and mind remain energized without the added stress of cooking. So, the next time you're stocking your pantry, consider adding a few boxes of your favorite cereal. It's not just breakfast, it's a strategic survival food. As days turn into weeks in an emergency situation, the monotony of the same meals can lead to a subtle but significant drop in morale. This isn't just a psychological issue, it has physiological consequences. The brain's reward system, which is heavily influenced by the variety and flavor of food, can become depleted, leading to decreased motivation and increased stress. This is where bouillon cubes come into play. These small cubes of concentrated flavor can transform a simple meal into a comforting, satisfying dish. The act of smelling a warm broth can trigger the release of dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. This simple sensory experience can boost mood and morale, making it easier to face the challenges of a crisis. Bouillon cubes also provide essential minerals and sodium, which are crucial for maintaining electrolyte balance, especially in high-stress situations. By adding bouillon to your emergency food supply, you're not just enhancing flavor, you're supporting your body's physiological needs during a crisis. So, the next time you're preparing your emergency kit, consider including bouillon cubes. They're a small addition that can make a big difference in how you and your family feel during a prolonged emergency.
When the power goes out, your cooking options become severely limited. Traditional cooking methods that require electricity or gas become impractical. This is where instant mashed potatoes shine. These dehydrated flakes require only hot water and a few minutes to prepare, making them a perfect solution for a crisis. But their utility goes beyond just being a quick meal. Potato flakes can be used as a thickening agent for soups and stews, enhancing the texture and nutritional value of your meals. They can also be used in flatbread dough as a partial flour substitute, adding a soft texture that is especially beneficial for young children and elderly individuals. Potatoes are a rich source of potassium, vitamin C, vitamin B6, and dietary fiber, all of which are essential for maintaining energy levels and digestive health during a crisis. By incorporating instant mashed potatoes into your emergency food supply, you're ensuring that your body receives the necessary nutrients to function optimally, even when cooking options are limited. So, the next time you're preparing your emergency kit, consider adding a canister of instant mashed potatoes. They're a versatile and practical addition that can make a significant difference in how you and your family fare during a crisis.
The monotony of emergency meals can lead to a decrease in appetite and a drop in morale. This is where dried spices come into play. These small packets of flavor can transform a simple meal into a comforting, satisfying dish. The act of smelling a variety of spices can trigger the release of dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. This simple sensory experience can boost mood and morale, making it easier to face the challenges of a crisis. Dried spices are also incredibly compact and cost-effective, making them an ideal addition to any emergency food supply. Garlic powder, black pepper, and cumin are three spices that can create meaningful variation across more meal combinations than almost any other trio. By adding dried spices to your emergency food supply, you're not just enhancing flavor, you're supporting your body's physiological needs during a crisis. So, the next time you're preparing your emergency kit, consider including a small jar of dried spices. They're a small addition that can make a big difference in how you and your family feel during a prolonged emergency.
When fuel is limited, the last thing you want to do is spend precious resources cooking. This is where canned sardines come into play. These small fish are fully cooked and ready to eat, making them a perfect solution for a crisis. Canned sardines are a complete protein source, providing all 9 essential amino acids, which are crucial for maintaining muscle mass and overall health. They're also a rich source of omega-3 fatty acids, which support cardiovascular and neurological health. Unlike other canned proteins, sardines are eaten with their bones, which are softened during the canning process, making them a meaningful source of dietary calcium. This is not just a nutritional advantage, it's a physiological necessity. By incorporating canned sardines into your emergency food supply, you're ensuring that your body receives the necessary nutrients to function optimally, even when cooking options are limited. So the next time you're preparing your emergency kit, consider adding a few cans of sardines. They're a compact and practical addition that can make a significant difference in how you and your family fare during a crisis.
Choose 3 based on pure versatility. The answer is garlic powder, black pepper, and cumin. Those 3 create meaningful variation across more meal combinations than almost any other trio. Which of these first few surprise you the most? Drop it in the comments. I read them. Number 11. Canned sardines. Every conversation about emergency protein starts the same way. Beans, lentils, maybe canned tuna. But there is one animal protein source that consistently outperforms everything else in the canned food category, and most people walk past it without a second look. Canned sardines. The canning process fully cooks the fish. Open the lid. Food is ready. When fuel is limited, that is not a minor convenience. It is a genuine operational edge. A single standard can, around 20 grams of complete protein, all 9 essential amino acids, plus omega-3 fatty acids for cardiovascular and neurological support. And here is something most canned proteins cannot offer at all. Because sardines are eaten with their bones, softened completely during canning, they are also a meaningful source of dietary calcium. Almost nothing else in a standard emergency pantry addresses that. The oil in an oil-packed can is useful too. Mixed into rice or noodles, it adds caloric density and flavor. Nothing wasted. Practical takeaway. Nutritionally dense, affordable, zero
Prep. Rotate them into regular meals now so they feel familiar long before you need to depend on them. Number 10. Nutritional yeast. This one looks like absolutely nothing. Small flakes of pale yellow powder. Most people who have never encountered it have no idea what to make of it, and yet it quietly solves a problem most emergency food plans never identify. The first few days of any emergency are about caloric survival, carbohydrates, protein. Most people plan for that reasonably well, but when an emergency stretches beyond a week, something else starts happening. Micronutrient depletion. A diet built primarily on grains and legumes will be severely deficient in B vitamins, specifically B12, B6, thiamine, riboflavin, and niacin. These drive energy metabolism, neurological function, and immune maintenance. When they run low, fatigue increases, cognitive clarity drops, mood deteriorates. Most people blame stress or poor sleep, never knowing it is a nutritional gap quietly built into their food supply from the start. Now here is the part nobody expects. Nutritional yeast does not taste like a supplement. It tastes like mild-aged cheese. Rich, savory, slightly salty. Sprinkled onto hot rice, stirred into soup, mixed into porridge, it makes food noticeably better while simultaneously delivering a complete B vitamin complex, plant-based protein, and trace minerals including
Zinc and selenium, 2 completely separate jobs. One lightweight, inexpensive ingredient. Practical takeaway, a seasoning and a supplement at the same time. A single canister is inexpensive, takes up almost no space, and closes a nutritional gap most emergency food plans leave wide open. Number 9. Popcorn kernels. This is the one that genuinely surprises people. When most people think about popcorn, they think about microwave bags and movie nights. Nothing about that suggests emergency food. That disconnect is exactly why popcorn kernels are one of the most overlooked and most genuinely useful items in any long-term food supply. Here is a storage fact most people have never heard. Dried corn, properly sealed and protected from moisture, can maintain its ability to pop for decades. Researchers have recovered ancient dried corn kernels from archaeological sites that still retain this ability. Few food products can make that claim. But shelf life is only the beginning. The obvious application, a covered pot, any heat source, high-volume carbohydrate food ready in minutes with no electricity, is just the start. Kernels can also be ground into coarse cornmeal and cooked into a thick porridge, similar to polenta. One compact, inexpensive ingredient that supports two completely different meal types. And there is one more dimension worth acknowledging. Popcorn is universally associated with comfort and normality. During an emergency where nearly everything familiar has broken down, a bowl of popcorn is a small but genuine moment of everyday life. Research on disaster psychology consistently finds that familiar comfort foods have measurable positive effects on morale, particularly for children. Practical takeaway: sealed, dry, stored, and forgotten. Popcorn when morale needs it. Cornmeal when something more substantial is needed. One ingredient, 2 rolls. Number 8. Powdered eggs. Fresh eggs are one of the most nutritionally complete foods available. Complete protein, essential fatty acids, fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, choline for neurological function. In normal life, they appear in more meals than most people consciously realize. In an emergency that disrupts refrigeration, they are gone within days. Without refrigeration, fresh eggs at room temperature stay safe for roughly 2 to 3 weeks under ideal conditions. Far less in warm or fluctuating temperatures. In a power outage lasting more than a few days, that supply is effectively finished. Powdered eggs close that gap, produced through a spray drying process that removes moisture while preserving
Nutritional content. They remain viable in sealed oxygen-removed containers for 5 to 10 years or longer. Measured powder plus water produces a liquid egg mixture that functions equivalently to beaten fresh eggs in virtually every application. Scrambled in a pan, stirred into soup, used as binding in flatbreads and pancakes. For households with children, there is a specific reason this matters. Under stress, children retreat to familiar foods: scrambled eggs, egg-enriched pancakes, egg-based porridge. Mosaic, these are known, accepted, comfortable meals. The ability to prepare them from stored powder provides both nutrition and something equally important: the psychological weight of a normal meal when nothing else feels normal. Practical takeaway: one of the only stored foods that genuinely replicates a fresh ingredient with real fidelity. It belongs in any supply aiming for actual cooking capability, not just caloric survival. If this has been useful so far, a like helps more people find it. Only if you think it deserves one. Number 7. Dried split peas. After several items that take explanation to appreciate, this one is refreshingly direct. Dried split peas do something under heat that no other legume quite
Replicates? They dissolve. Given enough water, salt, and time, they break down on their own into a thick, filling soup with no thickening agent, no technique, and no special equipment required. Water, salt, heat, time. That is the complete preparation requirement. Split peas deliver protein, substantial dietary fiber, complex carbohydrates, and a range of B vitamins and minerals. The combination of protein and fiber produces satiety that lasts meaningfully longer than grain-only meals. One large pot serves multiple people across multiple servings, which matters significantly when cooking fuel is limited. A brief soak before cooking shortens active boiling time when fuel conservation matters. Stored dry and sealed, they hold quality for several years without refrigeration. Practical takeaway: if you store nothing else from the legume category, store split peas. Almost no skill, almost no fuel, one pot. A complete meal. Number 6. Dried lentils.
Most people who have built any emergency food supply believe they have the protein category handled. Beans on the shelf, maybe some canned protein. Box checked. What they rarely realize is that most dried beans carry a preparation problem that only becomes obvious when conditions deteriorate. Kidney beans, black beans,
Chickpeas, they all require 8 to 12 hours of soaking before cooking, then another 1 to 2 hours of active boiling. In normal life, that is an inconvenience. In a situation where cooking fuel is rationed, that burden repeats with every single meal across the entire duration of an emergency. Lentils sidestep this entirely. No soaking required. Rinsed directly into boiling water, full edibility in 20 to 30 minutes. That single characteristic translates into fuel savings, time savings, and logistical simplicity that compounds across every meal over days or weeks. One cooked cup provides approximately 18 grams of protein, along with substantial dietary fiber, iron, folate, potassium, music, and complex carbohydrates. And when lentils are paired with any grain, rice, wheat, corn, the amino acid profiles complement each other to form a complete protein, covering all 9 essential amino acids the body requires. This combination appears independently across dozens of cultures on every inhabited continent throughout thousands of years of human history. That repetition is evidence of something that genuinely works. Practical takeaway: cost per gram of protein, preparation time, fuel efficiency, on every measure, dried lentils are nearly unbeatable. Foundation of a food supply, not an afterthought. We are getting close to the top. These last 5 are where most bubblers.
Standard preparedness guides have the biggest gaps. Number 5, vinegar. Vinegar sits at the back of most kitchen cabinets, almost completely ignored. But it has one defining characteristic that places it in a category almost nothing else on this list can claim. It does not expire. The acetic acid concentration creates a chemical environment inherently hostile to bacteria and fungi responsible for spoilage. A properly sealed bottle purchased today will be chemically identical and fully functional in 30 years. No other food on this list can make that statement without qualification. But shelf life is not even the most interesting part. Think about the flavor profile of a standard emergency food supply. Grains, legumes, starches, salt adds depth. Spices add aromatics, fat adds richness. But there is one flavor dimension none of those provide: brightness. The sharp, clean acidity that makes simple food feel complete rather than flat. A small amount of vinegar added to vegetables, stirred into soup, or used as a simple sauce base changes the entire sensory experience of a meal in a way nothing else in a pantry can replicate. Then there is the preservation application most people never think about until they need it. When fresh vegetables become available during an extended inidaining and a resempfically supply. The one adamer and going up mathalal the Persianium supplave suring odhiri serves, aminoisriakers of frequim momeno goals sambar.
Abundance into sustained supply through pickling. Without it, that window closes fast. Practical takeaway: multiple bottles, white distilled for maximum versatility. Inexpensive, no special storage required, and unlike almost everything else in your pantry, never needs rotating or replacing. Number 4, duck fat. Here is the gap at the center of almost every beginner emergency food plan. Not protein, not calories, fat. Most standard preparedness guides build almost entirely around carbohydrates. Marper Reese's beans, oats, pasta. And while carbohydrates are essential, that approach quietly ignores a macronutrient available ungrily needs during sustained stress, physical exertion, and restricted food supply. Fat is the most calorie-dense macronutrient available. One grain delivers 9 calories, compared to 4 from carbohydrates or protein. A small amount provides a disproportionately large amount of energy,
when rations are limited. Beyond calories, fat supports brain function, hormone regulation, body temperature management, and sustained energy output over time. A diet chronically deficient in fat produces fatigue, cognitive decline, MAC-Re, and disrupted hormone production. Real
Functional impairments in a situation that demands clear thinking and physical capability. Duck fat is one of the most practical stored fats for an emergency music pantry. Rendered animal fats hold their quality significantly longer than most fresh oils when stored in sealed glass jars away from light and heat. And duck fat carries a rich, savory flavor profile that genuinely transforms plain food. A bowl of rice, a pot of boiled vegetables, exaster, a simple stew, into something that actually tastes like a meal. This is not a new concept. Before refrigeration, European civilizations preserved meat by slowly cooking it in rendered fat, music, and keeping it submerged, a technique that worked reliably for centuries. Fat was not just a cooking medium, it was a preservation system. Practical takeaway: most emergency food supplies are fat deficient and most people building them have no idea. A jar of duck fat in a sealed glass container addresses that gap directly. Do not build a food supply around carbohydrates alone and call it complete. Number 3, ghee. If duck fat solves the fat deficiency problem from one direction, ghee solves it from another. Ghee is clarified butter taken one step further. Regular butter contains fat,
Water, and milk proteins. Clarifying removes most of the milk solids. Ghee is cooked longer still until virtually all remaining moisture and milk proteins are gone, leaving almost pure butter fat. Here is why that matters for storage. The two primary mechanisms that cause dairy products to spoil are moisture and lactose. Ghee contains virtually none of either. The biological processes that make regular butter go rancid within weeks simply cannot operate. This is basic chemistry. Properly stored in sealed glass jars away from heat and light, ghee holds its quality at room temperature without refrigeration for months and significantly longer with any cooling at all. In an emergency where refrigeration is unavailable, that stability is not a convenience. It is the point. A single spoonful stirred into plain cooked rice increases caloric value substantially while adding a slightly nutty, rich, sweet dairy note that neutral cooking oils cannot replicate. Ghee also has a smoke point of approximately 250 degrees Cs, well above regular butter, making it more suitable for high-heat improvised cooking where temperature control is imprecise. Practical takeaway: sealed glass jars, room temperature away from direct sunlight, ghee and duck fat solve the same fat deficiency gap from different flavor directions. A small quantity of either makes simple meals
feel genuinely complete. Number 2, salt. Before refrigeration, before preservatives, before canning technology, there was salt. For most of recorded human history, the ability to store food across seasons, to sustain armies, feed cities through drought, depended almost entirely on access to salt. Roman soldiers were paid partially in it. The word salary derives directly from salt. Medieval trade routes organized themselves around salt production. Entire economies rose and fell on its supply. Today, it sits in a shaker on the dining table, so abundant that nobody thinks about it. But its importance has not changed, only its scarcity has. In an emergency food context, salt provides 3 distinct categories of value, and most people only think about one. The first is flavor. Salt is the single most fundamental enhancer in cooking. Without it, every stored grain, every legume, every starch tastes flat and unappealing. The second is preservation. Salt inhibits bacterial and fungal growth through osmosis, drawing water out of microbial cells. Salt curing meat,
fermenting vegetables in brine, ancient techniques with direct, music, practical applications when refrigeration is unavailable. The third, and the one most people never consider, is physiological necessity. Sodium is an essential electrolyte. It regulates fluid balance, supports nerve signal transmission, and is critical for
Muscle function. During physical exertion, heat exposure, or sustained stress, all common in genuine emergencies, sodium depletion becomes a real medical concern. Adequate intake is not optional. It is a biological requirement, and the storage characteristic that nothing else on this list can match. Salt does not expire, does not degrade, does not lose potency. A sealed container purchased today will be chemically identical in 50 years, exactly equal, not approximately. Fairly, music practical takeaway stores significantly more than you think you need. Seasoning preservation agent and electrolyte source simultaneously. And the only thing in your entire pantry that will never once need replacing. Number 1, whole wheat. Every other item on this list solves a specific problem. Music addresses a specific gap. This one is what all of them are built around. For approximately 10,000 years, wheat has been the single most relied upon food source in human history. Nomadic populations became settled communities because wheat could be stored. Cities became possible because wheat could be stockpiled and distributed. Armies sustained campaigns because wheat could be carried. Populations survived winters and multi-year droughts because wheat could
Be harvested and held. That is not sentiment. It is a 10,000-year record of demonstrated, tested reliability across every kind of crisis human populations have faced, stored in sealed containers with oxygen absorbers in cool, dry conditions. Whole wheat berries hold their quality and germination capacity for 25 years or more. In basic sealed buckets, a decade or longer, among the longest verified storage lives of any food product known. The culinary versatility is unmatched by any single ingredient on this list. Wheat can be cooked whole like a heartier version of rice, ground into flour with a hand mill or improvised tools, and used to make bread, flatbreads, crackers, and pasta. Sprouted over 3 to 4 days, which dramatically increases vitamin C content and digestibility in a way raw grain cannot provide. One ingredient across dozens of distinct meal types across virtually every food culture in the world. Nutritionally, whole wheat delivers complex carbohydrates for sustained energy, meaningful dietary fiber, moderate plant protein, and a range of vitamins and minerals including iron, magnesium, and zinc. And here is what ties the entire list together. Every item above this one functions best when it has something to
work with. Nutritional yeast needs something to sprinkle on. Ghee needs something to enrich. Bouillon needs something to flavor. Spices need something to season. Whole wheat is that something, the foundation, the base layer from which everything else on this list operates. Practical takeaway, sealed containers, oxygen absorbers, cool dry storage. If you build only one deep pantry staple, build it around whole wheat. Everything else on this list makes it better. Without it, most of them have nothing to work with. Step back and look at what all 15 of these have in common. None are expensive, none require specialized knowledge or equipment. Nearly all are available at any grocery store right now for very little money. What they share is something more specific: durability, versatility, and the ability to produce real meals from limited ingredients under difficult conditions. The gap between a basic emergency pantry and a functional one is not about quantity. It is about understanding which specific gaps actually exist. Fat alongside carbohydrates, flavor tools alongside base calories, fast preparation options alongside slow-cooked staples, preservation tools alongside perishable ingredients. Preparedness is not about fear. It is